to the flag of I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. I pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Look at that. One that worked.
Testing.
Good evening. Our open session of the August 26th work session is now in order. Ms. Vaughn, roll call.
Ms. Foster,
Present.
Mr. Conover,
Present.
Mr. Hikes,
Present.
Ms. Jones,
Here.
Mr. Marston,
Present.
Ms. Hubbard,
Here.
Dr. Collins Adams.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Ms. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mr. Hikes.
Yes.
Ms. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. Marston,
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard,
Yes.
Dr. Collins Adams.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Approval of the minutes. Minutes from the August 12th, 2025 regular business meeting.
I move to approve the minutes from our August 12th, 2025 regular business meeting.
Second.
Roll call.
Cool. Oh, sorry, discussion. Is that all right? Mr. Marston, did you take the minutes on August 12th? Is that right?
I did.
Okay, I was maybe suggest that somebody else makes the motion for the minutes in that case, but it's up to you.
I can make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from our August 12th, 2025 regular business meeting.
Seconded.
Roll call.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Heights?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Marston?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Dr. Collins Adams?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Section 10, we move to reports, superintendent reports.
Good evening. Yes, good evening, Madam President, Vice President Hubbard, members of the board, and to our listening audience. I'd like to take a point of privilege and just talk about the first week of school. Tonight, as I reflect upon the first week of school, my first day started with the Zoom ride with our board president, and on our first stop was Stevens at Sumner, where we were greeted by Dr. Wallace, the Sumner principal, and the Alumni Association. From there, we visited Yateman, and just like the students, we were greeted with the same level of energy and excitement. Afterwards, we visited Ames and Washington Montessori, which are co-located schools, and we saw a few tears from parents who were dropping off their pre-K and kindergarten students for the first time. Our final stop was Gateway STEM in Soldan, where we saw Dr. Berry and Dr. Moore, who have a well-organized plan for ensuring that excellence is experienced by all of our students. I would like to say then, given the aftermath of the storm, it is important that we work with our demographer to help us understand what we could expect after a natural disaster. According to the predictions provided by our demographers, the prediction forecasted that we would have a little more than 15,000 students return to St. Louis Public Schools. During the first week of school, our highest day of attendance was 14,979, which was on Thursday, August 21st. In thinking about our transportation, I'd like to begin with a testimonial from Dr. White, who represents our Gateway Complex, and then we'll move into our presentations. Dr. White, thank you for being here after a day that you've experienced. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have to breathe. The beginning of school, as far as transportation was concerned, there were some concerns. However, we're happy to report for the Gateway Complex that we've seen a drastic improvement as relates to, we're second tier. Our our buses coming on time, the majority of them coming on time. And actually, it's been a smooth transition for elementary and middle school to work together. We've seen great improvements on our end as a staff, working together. Our teachers actually have taken the lead in that and working together to ensure that our elementary and middle school students are being put on the bus at a record time, as well as no students being left behind on the bus. So we're very much proud of our staff for the efforts that they have committed to make sure our students are safe and on the bus, and the buses are leaving on time so we can get to our third tier schools.
Thank you.
Yes.
How long have you been there at Gateway Middle?
This is my 4th year at Gateway
And
Middle School.
What has your experience been with
And-
transportation?
In the past, our experience has been where sometimes we would leave students behind, buses lagging at times as far as due to first tier, not always coming on time for second tier. For whatever the reasons are, I can't really speak to the reasons, but for whatever reasons. But again, we've seen improvement since last week, so we're looking forward to more success.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I would like to say, in thinking about our extended day services, Dr. Smith has done a phenomenal job in providing those services to our families. Beginning on day 1, we have been able to serve at least 385 students in our before care program, and then 494 students in our aftercare program. Cabinet meetings usually take place here in the foundation room. However, on yesterday, we were hosted by Drs. Bonner and Dr. Bodie at Jefferson and Ashland, where we had an opportunity to visit classrooms where teaching and learning was taking place. That wraps up the first week of school, and then I would like to say welcome to Mr. Blackshear. Tonight we have the distinct pleasure of hearing from Mr. Blackshear, who represents Sumner's Project Restore and Forever Celebrate. As we work to repair our schools that have been damaged by the tornado, Mr. Blackshear and members of the Sumner alumni have been working to get Charles E. Sumner High School recognized as a historical landmark. He will present the work that has been done and share next steps as we take this endeavor together. I've shared with Mr. Blackshear and his committee that I'm in full support of getting Sumner High School designated as a historical landmark. Mr. Blackshear will give us a 10-minute max, 10-minute presentation. And then we will have an opportunity. Yes. 7, yes, great. We will have an opportunity to ask questions. Can we go ahead and present his presentation? Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Borsade, and all those in attendance. Charles Sumner High School, established in 1875 in St. Louis, Missouri, embodies 150 years of African American educational excellence, history, and culture. Throughout American history, Charles Sumner High School graduates have distinguished themselves in valued contributions to science, religion, politics, education, humanities, music, media, and athletics. At the 4248 West Cottage location, Charles Sumner High School has seen 115 years of graduating classes leave through those doors. And those thousands of students may not be attending now, that does not diminish the grandeur and the splendor Sumner brings to one's mind. You all have to bear with me because Sumner is near and dear to my heart. And it's near and dear to my heart even as it relates to my family. I have 8 siblings. We all graduated from Sumner. It was a very instrumental part of our development. And we know that that was not just our development, but the development of all those who came before us and in those who are coming after us. So if I feel or seem a little jittery, it's because it's the passion that's trying to be tampered so that I make sure I get the correct information out to you all. Nonetheless, Charles Sumner High School has a legacy that will and has stood the test of time. The building and the institution deserves an honorable distinction of being one of America's treasures, just as much as the Gateway Arch, the Jefferson Memorial, the Wainwright Building, the Scott Joplin House, and the old post office. Sumner's proud tradition is truly steeped in its students, its teachers, its administrators, and its history. Second slide, please. Currently, the city has not designated not one public or private high school or school as a landmark, nor neither has the federal government designated any city school as a national landmark. No, not one. So I ask, why not position Charles Sumner High School for that honor? And continue St. Louis Public School District's distinct honor of being first. To plainly put it, Charles Sumner High School is American history. Sumner High School is the oldest African-American high school west of the Mississippi River, founded at the close of the Civil War to educate black students. Through nearly every American hallmark, Sumner has been there to serve as an example of excellence in education. Through nearly every American history event, including the major wars and conflicts, with the exception of the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, the Mexican-American War, and the American Civil War. Through every civil rights movement that this country has ever endeavored, that includes through the Black Codes, Jim Crow's, Reconstruction, the civil rights movement of the 1950s to the 70s, and even up to the date, the Black Matters movement. Through every epidemic and pandemic, and through every educational revolution that has taken place in this country since 1875, Sumner has been there delivering those services. Next slide. Charles Sumner High School was established in response to the demands by the radical Republicans of the U.S. Congress. These politicians believed that each state should be required to provide educational opportunities for their colored students. Because of this, St. Louis Public Schools Board response back then was insightful enough and responsive enough to do the following. In 1867, it opened public school number 3 for middle and high school age students. In 1875, it renamed public school number 3 to Charles Sumner High School, recognizing the famed Massachusetts abolitionist Charles Sumner, who was severely and nearly caned to death on the floor of the U.S. Congress for speaking out against slavery. In 1910, a newly constructed state-of-the-arts Charles Sumner was built, which was located at its current address of 4248 West Cottage. But this was after decades of being in other unsavory areas of the city of St. Louis. The new building now in the Ville, which was the neighborhood for many black professionals, was open and available and has for generation upon generation been there. Next slide. So there are many benefits associated with being a National Historical Landmark. Designation as a National Historical Landmark offers access to grants that can be used to remodel, repair, and restore the building. It also gives federal tax incentives, promotes heritage and tourism, as well as educational opportunities from the National Park Service. While the NHL status does not mandate public access, it enhances the visibility and supports the preservation of the building and the area. Next slide. PRFC, Protect, Restore, and Forever Celebrate Sumner. Our main goal is to see that Charles Sumner High School receives the highest level of landmark designation from the city of St. Louis, from the state of Missouri, and also from the National Park Service in the United States Department of Interior, for recognizing Sumner for its educational, historical, and cultural importance. Next slide. There are several key supporters to this endeavor, but they at this time include the For the Ville organization, the Sumner Alumni Association. We have had a meeting with Congressman Wesley Bell, who was on board with this project, the Sumner Advisory Board. Local and national historians such as John Wright and Dr. Amber Wiley are also in support of this project. Next slide. So St. Louis Public Schools' role in this process would be to continue to endorse the designation as we move forward, allow district-wide access to the Association of the Study of African American Life in History, Historical Context. One of the things that has to be done on the national level, well, let me go back for a second. Had Protect, Restore, and Forever Celebrate Sumner High School not petitioned the National Park Service for this honor for Sumner, in their hundreds of years of existence and about 3,000 designations, they had never considered giving this honor to a school like Sumner. Not just a black school, but all of the historical schools that they have designated up until this particular point in time either were a product of slavery or a special or a historical event occurred at it during the civil rights movement. But those schools in that time frame between 1870 and 1970, there aren't any. And Sumner is in position to be the first. But what had to happen was that they had to hire a historian to write the historical context so that it fell in line with being a school or a building or an entity being designated a historical landmark. So we're proud in saying that had we not even brought this to their attention, there still wouldn't be any. And Sumner is in position to be the first. Let me close by saying Sumner High School is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, institution in the St. Louis Public School District. Along with the district, it boasts a rich history spanning over 150 years. PRFC, Inc. has been working toward the goal to secure this landmark designation at the local, state, and national levels to honor the school's significant contribution to the American education. With the aim of preserving and celebrating the school as well as the school district's legacies, histories, and educational milestones. Importantly, these initiatives are being pursued without imposing any significant financial burden. Let me repeat that. Without imposing any significant financial burden on St. Louis Public Schools District funds. So at this time, I would close and open the floor for any questions.
That was exactly 10 minutes. Thank you.
That's how Bulldogs do it.
I just want to thank you for such a wonderful presentation. I felt every bit of what you were saying, and I really appreciate the history that you talked about for Sumner. This project has been a long time coming because I remember years ago talking about turning Sumner, you know, into a historical landmark, and the time is now. It's time.
Yes,
and no longer wait, and I pray that there are many others that come and join in the effort to push this along as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Because there are many people that have graduated and taught at Sumner. As I walked through the halls and looked at the pictures and all the wonderful people that came out of Sumner, my God. Oh, St. Louis owes a debt of gratitude to Sumner's graduates. And thank you so much for what you're doing.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the information on the historical value, too, that this has never been possible and has never been recognized for any school, and certainly for a school that houses such historical value in the city of St. Louis. So,
And in doing our research and in the original information that was sent to Dr. Borshade, if you look at the milestones for St. Louis Public Schools itself, the school district itself has always been on the forefront on educational issues across the entire country. So even going back to 1867 when they opened Colored School number 3, which eventually became Sumner, that was even on the forefront of educational milestones across the country. So this just falls in line where there's an opportunity here to continue that.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blackshear, for that historical presentation. Alrighty. Next. At this time, we will have a presentation from SLDC.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
To Superintendent Borshade and to the board, thank you for inviting us to present to you again. We did present to the Real Estate Committee on August 18th and this is a follow-on to that discussion to the full board. This all began with a discussion in the President of the Board of Aldermen's office with several members of the board where we were discussing incentives for the Millennium Hotel. And subsequent to that, there was a desire to have SLDC speak to the board about incentives and the incentives process, the impact to the schools, and which is why we're here. But I will begin by saying that today the Board of Aldermen met, at least the HUD's committee of the Board of Aldermen met to consider the board bill that reflects incentives or lack of incentives, if you will, for the Millennium Hotel. So today the board approved just a blighting for the project, and at some later date when the project is fully defined, if there are to be incentives, there will be a second opportunity for us to brief the school board concerning that. But tonight I have along with me Zach Wilson, who is the department head for incentives, and I wanted Zach to come and present basically the same presentation that he provided to the real estate committee with a few changes, but basically provide information and to answer questions that the board might have. Zach.
Thank you. I brought plenty of copies, but didn't know there was this many people, so sorry about that. And here's my card, so they talk to me afterwards. Thank you for having me. I was at the Board of Aldermen, so the board bill definitely does not have tax abatement in it anymore. So in a future date, if there's a TIF or a tax abatement, we'll go present this in front of the development board with a development packet, and we'd be happy to speak in front of you again. I started coming to the development boards probably a couple years ago. It's a new step in the process. We score the project, see what the school board is capturing in the project in the future, and we kind of have a communication back and forth on if the school board supports it or doesn't, or takes no position. So incentives have been created for cities like St. Louis. This graph shows you what our issue is currently. Construction costs in the city matches the county, but what we're having issues with is what type of revenue can we capture versus other municipalities. So you can see downtown rates are much lower. Rent rates are much lower than our competing partners around the region. And then if you do a wider range, if we compare St. Louis to Nashville, Louisville, those type of things, money can change hands pretty quickly. Developers change cities pretty quickly. Banks and lenders change cities quickly. So we're not only competing against Brentwood and Chesterfield, we're competing against Nashville, Louisville, Indianapolis, Phoenix, those type of places. Another thing, we use incentives to close the gap, to make the project more profitable for a developer and to make it more appealing to developers to invest in the city of St. Louis. These are the list of types of incentives that are offered out there. Tax abatement TIF, special taxing district, CID, TDDs, enterprise zone is another tax abatement to bring jobs to the city. Brownfield tax program, historic tax credits, low-income tax credits. And these are kind of broken down to what SLDC offers versus other bodies. Two main ones are tax abatement TIF for this SLDC and sales tax exemption on construction material. The two other ones, the state offers quite a bit, historic tax credits, low-income tax credits, and there is a real estate tax abatement through SLUS 353 that we have no control over. Again, we offer the main two incentives we have used in the past are tax abatement and TIFs. But as you see, over the last several years, the amount of incentives has dropped considerably. 2017, we had 66 projects passed the Board of Aldermen, and I'll probably update this slide again. 2024 was about 4 or 5 projects passed the Board of Aldermen with tax abatement. TIFs approved in 2017, 6, and the last couple of years we have had no TIFs pass. So you can argue that may have overused incentives in the past, especially 10, 15, 20 years ago, and we've heard that issue, or not issue, but complaint, and we scaled back the way we award incentives and how we score incentives. Now, incentives are also used for good purposes, not just for big, giant developments downtown, but we do use them for vacant schools. So vacant schools are extremely hard to develop, and it's very expensive to develop. So here's a list of schools we have used incentives on in the past. They're all from low-income tax credit projects to senior housing to market rate housing. Now, a lot of these projects have been layered with other incentives. Tax abatement usually with these type of projects are layered with historic tax credits from the state and low-income tax credits from the state also. Again, we also use incentives for low-income housing or affordable housing. In the last probably 10 years, these are just about 1,700 units of housing we've created with low-income housing tax credits and tax abatement. Now, these projects, a lot of these projects have multiple bedrooms, like 2 to 3 to 4 bedrooms. So, and they usually, tax abatements run for 15 years on these projects because that's what the state allows for historic tax credit, low-income tax credits for a 15-year affordability rate. Now, during that rate, we make sure those units are affordable and they stay affordable. Now, if they don't stay affordable, the incentive is pulled. Again, about 3 or 4 years ago, we heard the complaints about incentives, so we did incentive reform. What we heard was the process not clear for the public and developers, so we wanted something predictable, something so people understood. So we contracted an outside party, Baker Tilly. We had a variety of focus groups. SLPS was invited to many of them. Board of Aldermen, CDCs, the planning department. So we came up with a new incentive model, community scorecard, financial scorecard, and in the future we'll further tweak this as we hear different complaints or concerns moving forward. So this is a long list, but many of these things happen at the same time. Application is received, community benefits scorecard is scored on the project, financials analysis is scored, developer vetting, developer negotiations, and neighborhood engagement. Development board is voted on, LCRA, PIEA, then goes to the Board of Aldermen. And before, I'd like this clear, the Board of Aldermen has requested, or is actually not requested, required of us to reach out to this board and inform them what the project scores for financially for the school district and in other ways. So you'll get a developer packet before, when we send it over to the Board of Aldermen. So you will, in the past, the development board votes on that or tells us if you want to take a position, and then you inform us, and then we inform the Board of Aldermen. Then after the Board of Aldermen, becomes an ordinance. A lot of people think once the board bill is passed, the incentive is activated. That's not true. The board bill only allows for incentives. Then we enter in a redevelopment agreement with the developer, and anything that they promised in that community scorecard goes in the redevelopment agreement. If they promised 50 jobs, if they promised 100 residential units, if they promised a new playground for the park down the street, all those go in the redevelopment agreement. And during the construction, they had to pay prevailing wage, and minority compliance has been met during the construction. Now, if those things prevailing wage and minority compliance is not met, the incentive is not activated. And then after, so it is met, the project's completed, and everyone's happy with it, the incentive is activated. But during those incentive period, our compliance person goes out and makes sure all those things that they promised in the redevelopment agreement is followed through. Now, if those things are not followed through, they either get fined or the incentive pulled. So this is what the community scorecard comes down to. The higher the amount of points you get on this community scorecard, the more abatement you can get. So these are a couple things that we award mostly for, higher amounts for. Geography, if you're in North City or Southeast City, where we need investment, you get more points for it. Affordable housing, you get more points. And then for mixed use, there's a range of other things. We target industry, quality jobs, those are scored also. While we reformed incentives, we want to change the patterns of where investment's going. And we wanted to make sure the school district and other taxing districts get a portion of the projects sooner. So there's no more 100% abatements moving forward. 10 at 80, 10 at 75, along those lines. So there's a financial analysis model. This kind of shows you what the project scores before and what happens if there's no project, and if we give abatement and how much the school district would get during that abatement or then afterwards. This is a project, I believe, Marquette Homes, affordable housing, that was 10 at 90, followed by 5 at 50. Renovated a variety of vacant properties in Grabber Park and Marquette. Along a beautiful building on South Grand and Merrimack Street also started construction recently.
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, can you go back the slide and just like kind of walk us through what we're looking at on this exact slide?
Yes.
Thanks.
So the top one is the revenue to the city. If the first one's the 30,000 is the how much is coming in with the abatement or with the project. And now if there was no project, it would be 13,000. And so the new revenue to the city would be $17,000 per year. And then for the school district, below it, so revenue to the city, new revenue to let's not say new revenue. Revenue to the school district is 70,000, but if there was no revenue if no project occurred, it would just be 41,000. So net revenue to the school district with the new project with tax abatement is $28,000 a year. So the school district is getting $28,000 even with tax abatement. So it just shows you estimates per 10 year, 15, and 20 years. And you'll probably get tired of me. I'll be here for every project that comes in front of the school board or development board. So I'll be presenting these slides, or someone from my staff will be presenting these slides, going through. You can ask me every question under the sun. We are on the same page here. Not page, but we have the same mission. You guys want the best school district possible. We want the best city possible. And we're all on this together. So if you have concerns, we need to hear those and moving forward. Yes, ma'am.
I do have a question. For so many years, the city has taken it upon themselves to determine what the tip for tax abatements would be for the school district. And it was my understanding a few years ago that these things should be coming before our board first, before they come before SLDC. And it looks like the city is getting much more revenue than the school district would be. And I'm just concerned about the fiscal analysis that you're doing. Because it seems as if when persons come to the school district and they want to purchase property, they sit on it forever waiting on their tax abatements and tips. And according to you guys' scorecard, and I think the school district needs to be developing its own scorecard first and foremost.
Generally, what we have is the process generally starts with a desire to develop, and we will always have a developer or an owner that will come and ask. And many times the process never gets off the dime because we will look at it and say no before it even starts. But what happens here is that when the project is basically decided that it is a good project to analyze, we go through it and we get through the process, and as a result of the Board of Aldermen requirement, we do send it to your real estate committee, or I believe it is the real estate committee. And so for you to look at it and evaluate. I can tell you that the fiscal analysis that we go through is top-notch in the sense that it looks at all aspects of it. And you're concerned about which taxing districts get what amount is basically in statute and law, and it gives a percentage for each of the taxing districts. And so whatever the taxes are that is generated is based on that model. So the amount that comes to the school board is set in law, in state law. And so that is what dictates the amount that comes to each of the districts.
So is that the reason why, just in particular, North St. Louis usually doesn't get a lot of development and fails when it comes to the fiscal analysis, because they don't get as many taxes as other areas?
No, it's just the opposite. Our model is set now to be able to provide more incentive for development in North St. Louis as opposed to others. And there's a map on our website that you can view. You have it? Yeah. Okay, we have it on our PowerPoint, so we'll get to it in a second. But it will show you areas of the city that will not qualify for any incentive, at least for any tax abatement. So we have gone through to evaluate the impact of various neighborhoods, and it will be reflected on the map that Zach will show you here in a second.
So my concern is how long ago has this map been updated, or this new law?
Well, the map was first generated in 2021, and it has been updated by I've been gone for 5 years, but he has been updating it each year since then.
You can go
All right,
first.
thank you.
You want me to go? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Sade, and then Mr. Cumber.
I think one of the things that would be helpful is on the process overview, where you have new process. It would be helpful if St. Louis Public School was listed in that flow chart to see where it comes to us and then continues.
No, I totally agree. I was trying to show you the internal process for SLDC versus the other requirements.
Got it. Okay.
From the Board of Aldermen, so I will make that change.
Mr. Conover?
Thank you both. In relation to slides 11 and 12, where you talk about the community benefits scorecard, there's 3 tiers. One caps out at 10 years, 90, 5 years, 50. The other one caps out, well, there's 4, but the last one caps out at 10 years, 90, 15 years, 50. Can you all explain to me, and I know it's a moot point now because this bill no longer exists, but why the Millennium Hotel was slated to get up to a 20-year, 90% abatement when that's not one of the options on your scorecard?
True. That is true. We did say up to 20 to give us some wiggle room. We are looking to, for future scorecards, to do a tier 4 for projects that have been vacant for more than 10, 15 years, to give that, to market the properties even more so. The issue is projects like Railroad Exchange, Cleveland High School, those things need as much abatement as possible moving forward. But to be honest with you, the board bill said up to 20%, 20 years at 90%. It was more of a, gave us some leeway to negotiate in the future on that piece. But since that's a moot point now. Moving forward, we'll have more detail in the board bills.
So just so I understand, it sounds like you're planning on updating the community benefit scorecard, and then, again, we agree that the bill's no longer moving forward. So in some sense, it's a moot point.
Yeah.
But when it was originally proposed, I guess it was decided that you needed to go beyond the scorecard that had been created for the project.
Part of the reason I think that the staff and the alderman basically asked for the 20-year, they thought that a project as difficult as the one that they were pursuing was in need of more incentive, and trying to ensure that the developer would in fact do the project, and so that's why they chose to go to that amount. This project, when it finally comes back and to the Board of Aldermen for final approval, it probably will be at around $700 million. And so at that point, they probably will ask for other kinds of incentives to be able to make it work. And it goes back to his first slide, which shows the return on investment for developers. Okay, and so as what you can get in the city of St. Louis versus what you get in Clayton or Chesterfield, or in any other city that does not have some of the issues that we are impacted by here in the city. Crime, the perception of crime, schools, blight, all of those things have an impact on the analysis that are being evaluated. And so we've created all these tools with the help of consultants and others to be able to evaluate the different conditions that will come for, depending upon location. And so why we built the map that shows where there are locations where we do not do incentives is important. It's just to show you that we have considered many of those things that you're concerned about.
So my question is about you continue to talk about Cleveland as if it's part of the city of St. Louis's property.
No.
Okay. So your name is Otis Williams, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I understand that you received many awards over the years in regards to property. And I'm sure you understand the importance of LRA, because the city of St. Louis is nationally known for having one of the highest amounts of vacant land in its city. And many of our areas look like a war zone because there's nothing there. That's why I'm concerned about the incentives and the lack thereof. And you talked about comparing it to someplace like Clayton compared to St. Louis City. So I'm afraid, especially with the tornado having come through, what is that really going to mean for us? And I know many people are going to come after St. Louis Public School property as well and want it for little of nothing. So I'm just concerned about your incentives and how the city of St. Louis is going to work with St. Louis Public School to help us develop our schools.
Sure. The purpose of the incentive is to entice someone to redevelop the property. And essentially the property that we're trying to entice people to redevelop is many of the properties that you described, the vacant land or the blighted property. And so on its own, people are not coming to the table. I mean, no one is walking up to a certain address on MLK. I'm just saying a vacant address there. But maybe with an incentive, they may. And so that's as well as we go back to Cleveland High School, it is not our property, obviously. What we are looking to do is, because it is such a blight on that neighborhood there, we want it to be redeveloped. And so just standing there without any incentive for redevelopment, no one has come to the table since it has closed. And so we're just trying to say, okay, if there's tax abatement for that site or some assistance with redevelopment, can you redevelop that building? Because to you, it is your property, but it is not providing any, it's just a vacant, blighted building. And so if we could get it off your hands into the tax rolls, it will be taxes that will be coming to the school board.
That's the concern, is because we have schools like Scullin, we have schools like Northwest High School that are very viable places that can bring tax dollars in. And
Yes.
I'm hoping that the city will help bring those back to life as well, and not just continue to go south, because I appreciate the ideal of,
Our
it's
focus,
causing a
ma'am, is
problem.
right now is very much north. And so
can't see
all
it.
of the,
I don't see it.
okay, well, there's always a need to have a partner to be able to redevelop. And so, yes, we want to redevelop, but what we need are people who want to redevelop with us. And so, and when I say that, I mean the other developers or groups that would like to do that. So I know that we are now talking with various community groups and groups that have a desire to see redevelopment in areas where we haven't had redevelopment in a long time, particularly along the Martin Luther King corridor. And so I can point to the things that Pastor Andre is doing along Grand, things that the folks also in the Ville area that are trying to get done, the housing corporation there. And so it's going to take a lot, but in each of those cases, we have been able to incentivize them with new markets tax credits and or low-income housing tax credits from the state or tax abatement. And so, but none of those deals would have happened, will not happen, without some assistance from the city, or from, in the case of low-income housing tax credits, from the state.
Well, in closing, I would hope that some of those millions that the city of St. Louis received from the federal government will come our way, especially in places like in North St. Louis on the other side of Highway 70 that have received little of nothing. And I hope that you could partner with the city schools. And I know you continue to talk about developers wanting to do this and that, but we want to develop our schools so we can open them back up so persons in the community will have a place to go, because we don't even have a high school on the other side of Highway 70. And that's what I'm looking for.
We totally agree, and our goal, as Zach has indicated, is we want to see your schools redevelop as well. We want to see all of the vacant properties that are in North St. Louis and within the city redeveloped as well. And so, but I'm just here to tell you that it will not happen. Just not allowing incentives will not get these properties redeveloped. It has to have some support to be able to get it done. And it does not decrease your tax base. It can only increase it, because the taxes that the property is currently paying will continue, and we will then move forward from there.
Is there a thank you for everything that you've given us this evening. Is there a discussion about affordable housing and as affordable housing in neighborhoods, so neighborhood developments?
Yes, and almost all neighborhoods now, we are having those discussions with individuals. We have special efforts in some areas, but particularly north, to try and have more affordable housing. Today at our board, LCRA, which is Land Clearance for Redevelopment Authority, we had two projects. How many units was it? About 200 units total that was approved. So there are developers who are working to try and bring about, and many of those were projects that had bedroom totals of 4 and 5 bedrooms in it. So we know that they are families.
Houses, right? Yes.
Yeah, and so those are important to the growth. So those are new projects that will be coming on board.
Thank you. Are there any further questions?
And they were in one of them was in Old North area. So and then the other was Tiffany Place.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Any additional questions? Thank you so much. You've
Well, thank you
answered
all
so
for-
many of our questions. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, are we not doing the rest of the presentation?
Oh, pardon me?
Are we not doing the rest of the presentation?
Are you going?
I don't know, as far as timing, we can, but
The reason I ask is because I would have asked more questions at the end of the presentation, but if we're not doing the rest of the presentation, I would be happy to ask questions now.
If you want to continue.
Let me go through a couple more slides. So before we had several, back in 5, 10, 15 years ago, there was a lot of, we got a lot of heat for approving tax abatement in neighborhoods that were strong, single-family homes, especially like a Hill, Shaw, Tower Grove East, those type of things. So in 2021, we came up with a map to show what we would allow for tax abatement for small projects under $1 million. So in North City, we'll allow for more incentives, and Southeast City. So this is a map that's gets updated ever so often and shows where we would support tax abatement for residential development. Again,
Sorry, real quick, Mr. Wilson. That
Yes.
legend's been updated, or will be updated, right? Because you're not doing 100% abatement anymore.
correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So the previous administration asked us to do a nexus study to see how incentives affect schools. And what they found was the market physical trends since 2010, city lost 30,000 people, but enrollment has been down since 1970, 80% since 1970. But the number of households have increased, but the average household is down to 1.86. So fewer children for more households. The other problems we are having is the state foundation for funding fell $48 million to $10 million. But the local property tax revenue rose 30% in the same period. So now 70% of the SLPS is local funding. So what does this mean? Local revenue makes up majority of the SLPS budget. What we need is mostly butts in the seats, basically, you know. So what does that mean for incentives? We need stronger neighborhoods, stronger projects that fuel neighborhoods and fuel bigger households. So single-family homes with 2, 3, 4 bedrooms, apartment buildings with 2 or 3, 4 bedrooms, those type of things. And neighborhood amenities, grocery stores, those type of things built in a neighborhood. So to lure those middle-class families back to the city, or any type of families back to the city. Again, this is another Sour Grove CDC put out a developer survey. Why are they no longer developing the city, or issues we're having for the city? Financing and funding are the biggest hurdles, supposedly by the developers questioned. Bureaucracy, zoning, permitting, those type of things, and 85% they need more tax abatement incentives. Kind of repeat of this previous slide. So I wanted to show you 3 case studies. These are 3 buildings that have been vacant over 10 years in downtown St. Louis. So in the height, in 2009, this building was bringing in over $5 million to the city of St. Louis, and a little over about $2 million to the St. Louis Public Schools. So as you see, as it's been sitting vacant, less and less has come to both these schools and the city of St. Louis. Same for the Millennium Hotel. Again, this is kind of a moot point because this is no longer being offered, but this is kind of what we were projecting.
Sorry, Mr. Wilson, can you go
Yes.
back to 26? That slide right there.
Yes.
One more forward.
Oh.
Yeah, that one.
Uh-huh.
I think this is probably just an error, but I wanted to get clear on this. In the middle of the bullet points there, it says that this development would have been within a half mile of the Cortex Metrolink station. That can't be, I mean, maybe I'm
You
wrong,
are
but that can't be right.
Correct, but it's a half mile probably next to
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably close to the
Village,
ballpark one, right?
Correct,
Yeah,
yes.
okay. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't losing my mind there.
No, you're not.
Appreciate it.
So this is kind of analysis you'll see in the PowerPoints in the future from our department. Again, a railroad exchange, this is similar. This little bump at the end is not taxes, it's the fines, so don't get excited there. We fine the building owner for problem property fines. Wait, oh, there was a slide that showed you, it's in the packet. So you get an extra slide if you get a piece of paper in front of you. Basically shows you what the city schools, sorry, I'll flip to it. It looks like this, kind of looks like a rough view. This was what the taxes were in 2009 for the Millennium Hotel, was a little over 800,000. And right now it's at 288 for city. This is city, includes the public schools. So with the first year of tax abatement, the city and public schools together would make about 841,000. We're not up to the amount of taxes when the building was occupied, but we're getting close. But year 5 of the tax abatement, we hit $972,000. So this is kind of shows you what we're looking at moving forward and how we would score a project. Now again, we will present like the two projects we voted on today at El Surrey, the low-income housing tax credit projects. Packets will be sent to the development board. Your developer board will vote on it or ask the developer come speak at it. And then we will wait for your response, if you support it or not, and then we'll notify the Board of Aldermen. Be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Conover, you have a question?
Yeah, just a couple. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. It's very helpful to go over these things as a group here. During our real estate committee, I asked a question about foregone revenue in relation to our ACFR. So every year we get that ACFR. It says that we're foregoing somewhere between, in the last couple of years, it's been between 35 and 39 million in revenue due to tax incentives. Previously, you all told me, more or less, Mr. Williams told me that this number didn't make any sense to you. Could you explain that more to us? Because I'm confused.
There is a GASB report, I believe that is.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
right.
GASB report basically tells you the city has to tell the federal government what is being or the value of incentives.
Yeah.
And that's the value amount. I'm guessing what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
right. Goes with the GASB 77.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there is a value put on the value of the incentive that's been handed out to these developers. I can't argue with that number because it's probably the assessor's number. So that is true probably. But the issue is, the other argument is, if we don't give the incentives out, what will we see around it? I'll give you an example of Foundry. Without the Foundry, that project would not be built. Without incentives, that project would not be built. And once the Foundry was built, the apartment building next door to it, the new student housing building next door, which receives no incentives and would not have gotten incentives, is built with no incentives. So that one project that's incentivized has built other projects around it with no incentives. So it's one of those things, yes, we may have over-incentivized in the past, but we are more selective and more, I don't know what the word is, selective on where we want to use these incentives. So in Midtown, we would like to, in strong invested areas, we like to activate parking lots, vacant lots, tax-exempt properties, and turn them into taxable revenue for the schools and the city. In North City and Southeast City, where we need investment, we will work with the developer and work with the community to get projects they would like to see in those areas. So,
Can I just ask one sort of clarification there, and this also came up in the real estate committee. You mentioned while you were explaining the Foundry project that the project would not happen, and you didn't use quite this phrase, but the phrase that's frequently used here is but for tax incentives, right?
Correct. Yeah.
What sort of analysis are you guys doing on that front? Is that publicly available? I know there's some standards. I'm not an expert, but I know there's some standards around but-for analysis. So I was hoping to get more clarity, because last time it sounded like it was almost, I don't want to be too harsh, but arbitrarily decided. And so that's why I was hoping to get a little bit more
No. And
And
information.
before you get started, so that in the effort of time, your time and our audience, I would really like to be able to hear how all of that will relate to the public school system.
That's money that we receive, yeah.
So, yeah, okay.
Okay, so the Foundry site, where most of the recent development has occurred,
Yeah.
was a manufacturing site, and so it was highly contaminated and essentially had been vacant for a while before Steve Smith, who is the developer, came
Right.
along for the project that is built there, which has generated other things around it. So the benefit to the school is the fact that now there are taxes that are being paid and generated by all of the things that have been so it's not just property tax that is impacted, it is sales tax. It is earnings tax for the companies that have located there. Because some of the towers that you see there adjacent to it have office occupants there, and so there are a number of taxes. At one of our next opportunities to speak before you, I show you the impact of an area like Cortex, where it's a 200-acre area that we provided a TIF, a tax increment financing tool, and it is now generating 3 times the amount that it was, actually 4 times the amount that it was originally providing for taxes. And it shows in that scenario the significant impact it has on the schools. And so we can share that with you. So development, whenever we take away a vacant land or a vacant property, we then, if it is a new project that is built on it, it immediately starts to generate taxes, and it thereby can benefit the schools. As long as it stays vacant, it's doing none of us any good, the city or the taxing districts, any of the taxing districts. It's just laying fallow. So the goal here, and hopefully we get you all as partners, is to see as much development occur as possible, because as development occur, taxes are generated.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is it okay if I can get my question answered about the but-for part of that?
Yes, it is always a but-for. In the analysis some of the analysis you saw in abbreviated form on his slide, it is, we have these young smart guys and girls who are cracking it out to do the evaluation, and there's a formula, several formulas that they're using to pump in the numbers that we're given by the developers and verified, that then generate the analysis that we do.
And that's publicly available?
It's publicly
Great.
available.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Go, Ms. Hubbard. I didn't see you.
I want to say that we don't need to lure middle-class people to the city. We need to make the city a place where anyone can flourish. And it is not, the middle class has already left, the ones that are going to leave. And now it is the multi-people families that are leaving are single black women head of households, and they're being replaced by single men households. And I don't want anyone to feel that because they're not middle class, they're not wanted. We are here to serve every single student, no matter what.
I don't think that we said that anywhere. Well, if you did, then our goal here is to provide redevelopment, and it is across all ranges. And so our goal here is to make sure that we provide affordable housing as well as what we call mixed-use housing. so it can relate to all levels of incomes. And so our goal is not to have a focus on just the low income, but all incomes throughout. But we also know that there's a real need for support for the affordable housing category, and that's a real focus, and that's what we're working on. Okay.
Jefferson, thank you. Finance. Moving to 10.3.
Thank you. Tonight, you'll hear from our finance team, and then you'll hear from our human resource team. On August 12, 2025, our Chief Financial Officer shared the corrective action plans regarding our single audit completed by Reuben Brown. You have all received the corrective action plans related to the state audit. Tonight, I have asked our Chief Financial Officer to facilitate an interactive activity so that we all have a clear understanding regarding the findings and the corrective action of each of the individual audits, and then share a 5-year strategic financial plan. So we're going to ask you to move in groups. You ready? So we are going to have 2 groups. This group will work on the state audit. Dr. Collins Adams, Mr. Conover, Board Member Jones. Then for the Reuben Brown audit, which is considered our financial single audit, Mr. Marston, Vice President Hubbard, Board Member Foster, and Board Member Hikes. You all will work as a team on that audit. Okay. I'll turn it over to our Chief Financial Officer.
Good afternoon, good evening.
And she has 20
President
minutes.
Collins Adams and counting. Okay, so let me just fast forward. This interactive exercise is really to try to see if you guys are understanding the corrective actions and the audits that we have participated in. Don't get afraid. You guys got this, okay? So each board is going to represent the first 2 columns is what were the findings of the audit? What was the findings of the Reuben and Brown financial audit? What was the findings of the state audit? And then the last interactive is other audits. You guys are going to work together on that interactive board. And that what you're looking for there is what could be some of the common themes. What were the common themes we found in the Armanito audit? So again, just keep in mind, the first 2 columns are what were the findings. And then the second 2 columns are what are the corrective actions. So again, group 1 that is going to be working on the state audit is Dr. Collins Adams, Congressman Jones, Ms. Jones, and Conover. Second, the Reuben and Brown is Ms. Foster, Ms. Hubbard, Mr. Marston, and Mr. Hikes. You guys are going to have 10 minutes. You can work together as a team. We're going to have our facilitators. Please stand. Kelly, Matt, and Dr. Hubbard. They're going to help facilitate. They're not going to tell you guys the answers, but they're going to help facilitate this exercise.
Can you phone a friend?
You can phone a friend. You guys got this, okay? We're going to start. If you look at the tables, you're going to see some of the Velcro items. You're going to choose what are findings and what could be corrective actions. Okay? You got 10 minutes. Let's get started. No. The corrective actions and findings do not have to match. You get extra points if they do, but they do not.
We don't hear any of this going on audio, so this is blank, so you may want to walk around and talk to them while you're doing that.
All right, it looks like the financial single audit team is working hard at work. Those are your, anything that is above $5,000 that you purchase, your technology, some of your big expenses. Okay. So was that a finding for the Rubin and Brown audit, or is that a corrective action? It represents the categories that may have fell underneath the Singer audit. How are we looking here with the state audit? All right. Some of the findings could also be corrective actions. Some of the findings could also be corrective actions. That's your hint.
Great job so far. Great job.
You guys are doing good. You got about 6 minutes left, and then you're going to all work together for the other audit. I can give you the mic. Kelly, close it up. You don't want to get. They have recommendations and also what we are saying we're going to do, so they're kind of one and the same. All right, you guys got 5 minutes left, and then you're going to start with the other audit as an entire group.
After you finish on this side, all of you will come to the other
Okay. We're going to give you 1 more minute, and then we're going to have you start to go to the other audit, and then you're going to come back to your respective group, and then we're going to go over it. Each group is going to have a spokesperson. All right. Why don't we move the whole group over to the other audit? You're going to have 5 minutes here. Now remember, this is the Arm and Needle Management Assessment, and what you're just finding here is just what you think common themes would be. Just common themes. You got a table. Again, think about findings, and then what the corrective actions were. All right. You guys are moving together as a group. You guys are going to get this, huh? You're almost done here. Why don't you move over as a group in the under audit? All right. You're going to other audit. You guys are working together on that. Okay, that was under state, so should they put it, where should they put it under state? Okay, so do you think that was a finding? Okay. And if any of the team wants to go real quick over to the other, help them out, that'll be fine.
Wow, this is great.
You got
Okay.
about 2 minutes left.
Okay. There is a lot of understanding.
I
There's
see.
a lot of understanding.
A lot of understanding.
Dr. Berry, you ready?
All right. Well, you gotta have the overview. You guys are gonna talk about the overview.
Ms. Johnson, have they selected their spokesperson?
Have you guys selected your spokesperson for each of your areas? Oh,
No.
He's gonna facilitate. Okay, we need a spokesperson, and please stand by your team to give them support. There is no wrong answer here. We're gonna help you out, we're sure. We're sure. All right, are you guys ready? You ready? Okay. We're going to start with the financial single audit. I'm going to have Kelly kind of facilitate.
All right.
Thank you.
Who wants to talk about it? Yeah. Yeah, talk me through it.
All right. Yeah, so let's go one by one. So we got our findings on this side, corrective action on this side. At least at the beginning, we were trying to line them up so that they match. So equipment inventory, to address deficiencies there, we'll be conducting physical inventories, would be the corrective action. For audit delays, we were thinking that if we staff up, we can get the audits done faster, I think was the thinking. Leases and subscriptions, just to make sure that we're getting those paid on time. If you do monthly reconciliation, stay on top of it. Is that the same? If you have a significant deficiency, what you should do is improve the deficiency. I mean, really, you could apply, that's sort of a general fix for all of these. Capital assets, yeah, this one, yeah, conduct physical inventories. It goes together with. Oh, I've run out of time.
You guys did a great job. You guys did a great job. I would move the equipment. You know, capital assets, we're going to address that by doing. Oh, yeah, good, good. All right. Do you want me to move that along? All right. Good job.
We're doing state audit. Okay.
Yes, this was initially not my group, but I think we saw a lot of repeat findings that we found in a financial single audit, in the state audit. Some of them were, again, deficit spending, policy, travel procurement, credit cards, incentive pay, fund balance spending, late fees, sales taxes, personnel records as related to district staff, and emergency contracts and meetings. A lot of those corrective actions, again, replicate the ones on the other side. Monthly reconciliations, planning tools, clear salary schedules that are approved by the board, payroll, and most importantly, 5-year strategic plans that we'll be covering. And yeah, that's it.
This is the other audit.
So the other audit, AKA the management report, AKA the Armanino report. The findings were that credit cards were misused, travel policies were broken, procurement wasn't doing a good job, we were misusing sole or single source explanations for procurement. We were violating policies with all these things. Our salary schedule, either we didn't have one or we weren't using it properly. We were using it before the board voted on it, and our personnel records were incomplete. So our corrective actions are reconciliation with the budget and the credit cards, improving communication, make sure everybody knows how things are supposed to work, monthly review reconciliation, that's probably for procurement. We're going to strengthen our internal controls. I think we've done that a lot. We're going to use our policies and procedures and actually follow them and enforce them or change them if they're not what we need. Develop planning tools so we are aware of all this stuff. And obviously bid out contracts that need to be bid out. So that's all.
Great job, thank you.
Great job, thank you. So the point of this in closing was, as you can see after reviewing the 3 corrective action plans or the 3 audits, is that there are common themes that we are working on. The first theme is that we have developed corrective action plans. We have looked at each of the recommendations that the state, Reuben Brown, and even Armanino that have provided to us, and taking those recommendations, develop a corrective action plan that has metrics, how we're going to achieve those metrics, the time frame, who's responsible, and then how often are we going to measure those? Are we going to look at it on a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, a semi-annual basis, or an annual basis? And what you can see is there differences and their similarities as they relate to the themes. You saw internal controls, policies and procedures, how to make sure staffing is up to date, communication, and then you also saw some of the common themes of how do we address travel and credit card and staffing. So all of those are interconnected, and what you will be seeing going forth is how we're going to be tying those corrective action plans and building our 5-year strategic plan. We will have the same sort of format. You're going to have the goal. What is the goal of the strategic plan? What are the areas are we focusing on the strategic plan? How are we going to be develop individual matrix? How are we going to be measuring those? How are we going to be accounting for those? And then what is the timeline for implementation? Again, 5-year plans are very broad, but our focus is the first year. As you know, in 3 years, we're saying we're going to get to a balanced budget. So we're going to be building metrics, goals, and how to achieve those over the next couple months. And we will be presenting those to you in a couple of meetings. So I hope this exercise was fun. I hope it sparked more questions, and I hope you guys see how we take our corrective action plans, our recommendations that are represented by the state, by Rubin and Brown, and any other audits, and how we're building for that to make a stronger, viable financial department. Any questions?
Before you go to the questions, I just wanted to highlight that you said for our 5-year strategic financial plan, we will have 4 areas: the financial planning and budget process, the disbursement management, the procurement integrity and efficiency, and then we will have our payroll and personnel records management. And from there, in September, which is a few weeks, we will be meeting with DESE to help us refine and make sure that everything that we put in this 5-year financial plan is on par to get us to this balanced budget.
That's correct.
Okay.
Are there any questions? Comments? Did you guys find this to be at least interesting and fun?
Yes, we did. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And so now we will move into our HR corrective action plan. I just want you all to know that this team has worked extremely hard to make sure that we have developed corrective action plans and that we are implementing everything that we put in our corrective action plan. Without further ado, Dr. Berry.
All right, yes, ma'am. It seems like you don't need me because you just did the activity so well. But with protocol being established, we'll jump right into it. So good evening. Tonight, we're really going to focus on the equitable and multiple sources of data for this presentation. And through our corrective action plan, we will also make sure we continue to support our student success goals, as well as incorporating and delivering upon our portrait of a graduate. So in the audit, they focused on 3 main areas for HR. So in the audit, there were overall 5 areas. But for HR, you may have seen one area, which is Area 4. Under Area 4, there were 3 subcategories. So with the first one, I'm going to briefly walk through you our constructive action plan. The first one, we have 4.1, which is employee attendance incentives. So it started in the 21-22 academic year. And basically what the state audit said was we were not in accordance with the Missouri Constitution, Article 3, Section 39.3. Basically it stated where the state prohibited the state from granting funds to public entities for use of bonuses after the services have been rendered. Payments are allowable, however, they must be included in writing under like an employment agreement, and it must be delivered prior to actually implementing those services and making the payment. The second one for salaries. Salaries, what the state audit found, they exceeded the then approved salary schedule. Also, making sure that we have a board-approved salary schedule annually and accurate and up-to-date salary scales. And then the last one, personnel records. From the period of July 1, 2023 through July 1 of 2024 in particular, it talked about missing personnel records, many from cabinet members during a specific time frame. It also went on to mention the storage of personnel records and making sure that we are ensuring the confidentiality and protection from environmental threats like fire and water damage. So briefly, the corrective action plan for the employee incentives. Now, we do not have any employee incentives currently, but if we were ever to talk about future incentives, there are a few things we must do. We must, 1, make sure it's in accordance with the Missouri Constitution. So again, these are allowable under certain circumstances, but we have to make sure we have them in writing. We have to make sure that the work is authorized in advance with an agreement, of course, board approval, and then we can deliver upon payment. A timeline for this, and again, this is in the future if we were to ever have these. Within the first 2 months, we have clear strategic priorities, aligned with our SLPS goals, our values, and our portrait of a graduate. Within the 3 to 4 months, making sure that we are identifying eligibility criteria, a time frame, and the funding source. Oh, it's my time. I do. Within the 5th month, our legal compliance. Again, the Missouri Constitution, Article 39, making sure it's included with our board policies and we're following the guidelines and in our collective bargaining agreement. And then finally, implementation and monitoring. making sure that we are tracking KPIs that we have written, remain aligned to the Missouri Constitution and our SLPS board policies. Skipping over to our salaries, this is 4.2. Making sure that we are sticking to updating our policies and procedures in accordance with board policy and law. Again, having an annually approved board salary scales for all schedules. Making sure if we have retroactive payments that we have this in writing and it is prior to the work that has been done. As well as we are currently updating our HR policies. A timeline for that. Making sure, again, it is in alignment with board policy. Working with finance and payroll closely, we are updating our salary schedules annually and bringing them to the board. Making sure that we are training HR staff on not only how to interpret, apply, but also implement the salary schedule. And we're sharing these schedules with staff once they are board approved. Making sure that we are also in alignment and pulling samples throughout the year to make sure that we are working with our internal auditor and also doing our own system checks and balances. And accountability and reporting, making sure, again, when we're providing those monthly board reports, bringing directors and above to the board for approval, and making sure that you understand, you being the board, what the salaries we are asking for, and making sure we are implementing them correctly. And then our corrective action plan for the final one, 4.3. Again, making sure that we are following our own internal process and procedures, having an onboarding checklist, a system of checks and balances, using our applicant tracking system for scorecards, for interviews, for references, making sure we are following the Missouri Secretary of State's records guidelines, and again, our own internal HR policies. So in 2015, our records went to digital. From there, they kept all of the records and we moved them over to our MetaP site. Most of those files, if not all of them, should be into what we call a Laserfish, where we store all of our employee records. According to the Missouri State, you should keep records for 20 years unless you have them summarized. Well, of course, now they're all digital, they are summarized. In the audit, it did mention that we have a board regulation that talks about having all of our files here on site. We do need to talk about what that looks like, seeing that all of our files will eventually be all digital, and figuring out what to do with the current files that we have. We have looked at having a fireproof storage. They're about $5,000 to $8,000. I don't know if you have the privilege of visiting MetaP, but there are tons of files. So internally, we need to work on figuring out how we can properly store these files. And lastly, for our timeline for this, making sure that all background checks are completed, ensuring that not only do we have access to Missouri, but also across our nation, securing our retention documents, again, making sure the environment is conducive, the record completion, a checklist for our files, our onboarding procedures, and again, doing our own internal sampling process to make sure that when we're checking an employee's files, that we are sampling those files to make sure that we have everything in that onboarding checklist. Compliance with the state and local law regarding like FSLA, EEOC laws, monitoring continuous improvement, looking at our gaps. Where do we have gaps in our systems? And accountability and reporting, annually summarizing our compliance check, and working again with our own internal auditor. Thank you. Any questions for us?
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
I do have a question about the historical data storage. For years, I've often wondered, not just the data from the administration, but from the student's point of view as well. Like, I know several people who have reached back and they wanted their diploma, or they wanted to just find out information about their grades in school back in the day. And so where are those things stored, and who is in charge of record keeping?
Yes, ma'am. So that is a separate office, and so right now, Dr. Dino, I don't know if you or Dr. Smith, if you wanted to speak on that, about the records. If not, I'm more than happy to share it, but I want you to.
So most of that historical information is stored over at MetaP on the 3rd floor. We have been having conversations about trying to put that in an electronic form that we can utilize, but when individuals want transcripts or diplomas, records of attending school in the St. Louis Public School District, that happens through the office. Well, they're in the same location as registration, but they are the transcript, we don't call them the transcript ladies, but they're the young ladies that do the transcript. So individuals can get that information. They come in here and they want transcripts from all the way back in the 80s and things like that. And they do have a system whereby they can get that information. So we do have a system. They come in, they fill out a brief form about the information, the last school they attended, the years, and then those individuals are able to pull those transcripts for them.
And there's an online form, correct, as well?
Yes, online, or they can come in and fill out the information. Make it easy.
So if a person were interested in, just say for instance, the presentation that happened earlier for Sumner High School, are those records kept at Meet P as well?
You mean copies of the presentation, like the
Well,
PowerPoints?
not just the presentation, the PowerPoint, but all information. Just say for instance, for those students, for the history of the schools, are they kept there as well?
I can speak a little bit to that because I visit often for HR. And yes, ma'am, there is a separate room, locked room, that has some of the historic files there as well. We can go back to the 1800s. But yes, ma'am, we do have some files there.
My turn.
Any additional questions?
Me.
Ms. Hubbard?
Now, Ms. Jones gave me a second one, is that we should think about working with universities who have archival, like, historians and get an intern. See what they can do for us, because there's probably so much just rich historical data that could be used to learn from the past. And number two, are salary schedules public information, and are we posting them publicly?
Yes, ma'am, they are public for our teachers because right now the salary schedule is a starting salary because we get percentage increases for our teachers. So right now they are not on a level. So if I'm a teacher for 8 years, I can't say, yes, I'm on step D because they get percentages. So the salary scale for our certificated teachers and our non-certs, because they have percentages, you have a starting scale from A to C. And once you're on that starting scale, you just get your percentages each year until we decide to do something different.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
So looking at the matrix package that you gave to us on page 15, specifically like the salary schedule updates, timeline for them happening in the spring, March through April of each year. And maybe Ms. Johnson, you have a little information too. How are we thinking about the board-approved budget that has to be presented to us in line with that timeline?
Clarity on your question, are you saying, would we be presenting the salary schedules along with our budget approved?
I think my question is how much time in between this review process from March to April that we'll be getting HR reports, salary reviews, and then when we're expected to get the budget to review as a board.
Yeah. Well, so I can tell you in the past, and we can certainly talk about that's changed. We always work with finance to figure out what the district can afford, and then how much we are going to ask and request. We get our numbers from finance. Normally, we get those numbers, I want to say early July, maybe February, and we try to incorporate those into what we are going to ask. So you would not receive anything from HR without the approval, the blessing of finance, and finance saying, yes, we can afford this. I hope that answers a little bit.
That does. So that that means with this timeline, we begin the budget to review well in advance of June.
Yes,
and May.
you will be. And
I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to be forward, but like that's my question.
Yes, you will be. And what we do, we work with HR well before helping to develop the staffing plan, the salary schedule, because that's what's built into our budget.
Right.
So we can provide that information as a collective when we present the draft budget to you guys to show you how we're using the staffing and how we're using the salary scales to build that actual line item when you see for each individual entity, each individual school and or central office, how we're building that salary. That is based on information we receive from HR, and also we have Like if we know that they're going to be, let's say for instance, a 3% increase, we add that into our budget. So yes, we can provide that to you guys when we are presenting the draft budget.
Thank you.
Additional questions?
I think it wasn't, for this one, I'm glad you brought that up, because there's a conversation that takes place first
Absolutely.
before Dr. Berry would then say, okay, we're going forward with it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
A conversation with
Finance.
finance before,
and-
yeah.
Yeah, we
Just
work very closely
yes,
with HR
Absolutely.
in the development of the budget because we use the staffing information that they have. We look at the hires, the separation, the potential separations. We look at all of that to determine how many FTE staff we're going to be supporting. And then that information is then provided on a budget review for every entity, for every school, every network, and then we work with HR when they're presenting that to let them know, hey, you have, let's say, 4 vacancies. I'm using that as an example. Can you afford these 4 vacancies? So all of those are built into our budget process.
Yeah. And it's not just at the process, even like today, someone wants a position, we are reaching out to finance. Can they afford it? Can you sign off on it? Do you have it? Is it sustainable? So,
And my question is always, is this a neutral? Is this a
Absolutely.
neutral, or is this an increase in our budget?
absolutely.
Yeah, I think all that information is helpful. I asked again because I know that a lot of the findings and pushback or feedback that we get from community is like, okay, how quickly is the board even reviewing the budget? How quickly are they doing hiring if things happen so quickly after one another? And so I appreciate that this is a very clear timeline moving forward, based on these 3 audits specifically. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great job, team.
Thank you, Dr. Berry. We move to section 11 of our agenda, the consent agenda items. We have a number of consent agenda items, and there may be several questions related to specific items.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Can we move, this is probably too scrupulous, but can we move the community partner, St. Louis University School of Nursing, to the items for voting?
Items for action.
Items for action, thank
It's
you. Evan.
11:30, Ms. Vaughn. I got a couple more for you, so let me know when you're ready. There's only 4. Hopefully that's not too bad.
Can I ask a clarifying question? You said you want to move it to items for action?
Yes, because I need to abstain.
Okay, go ahead.
So is it possible just for agenda purposes, if it will be voting differently, them remaining on the consent agenda item and it's just not part of that block? So for instance, or even if it was an 11.1 through 11.29 and then 11.30 is voted on by itself. Is that?
It has to be listed as a separate item for action, though, because if it's part of the consent agenda, then we all have to consent to it, but that can't happen for ones that, for instance, Ms. Hubbard has to abstain from.
So
That's
there
the
couldn't be
only
a separate vote?
Wait, before we even, I need you to repeat what you said.
So for my clarification, I asked if we're moving these for just separate votes, is it possible for when the consent agenda item is going up for the final approval, those items that we're marking are listed and voted on separately?
Yes.
That's what I was asking.
Yes.
Ms.
Because
Vaughn,
we can separate all of them as we move forward. We don't have to vote on them all as one giant package.
okay.
I'm taking down the numbers, so I'm
Yes.
ready for the numbers. I
If we
have
can get the
11,
numbers ahead of time, that would be helpful.
0.30,
11.27, 11.62, 11.65. And I would just add, I'm not, yes, in terms of moving them to like individual votes, I think that's fine. I would have some concerns leaving them in 11, just because they'd still be listed under the consent agenda item section, and consent agenda has to be something that we vote on, we all consent to. And so that's where we could run into some trouble. But as long as they're somehow listed as items for action, I think that's fine. They just can't be listed as consent agenda items once they have to be pulled from the consent agenda. Thank you.
Okay, if we're going to move items, then for the record, to be able to document it in our minutes, I have a question of moving 11.62, that's District Real Estate Services, it's an amendment. And if we could state, Mr. Conover? Yes. If you could tell us why we're moving this particular one.
I just asked that it be removed to an item for action, that's all.
And are there any other concerns? 1136. Oh. There is no why. 1136, Community Partner Girl Scouts of Eastern Missouri will be removed as per the person that submitted it. And it'll be added later. Are there any other items to move?
I don't have an item to move, but I'd just like to thank Ms. Kane for all the work she does getting us community partners. 'Cause there's a whole lot in this list.
Thank you, Ms. Hubbard. We appreciate that. And I'm sure Ms. Kane does also. Are there are no other? Pardon me? All right.
I'll make a motion to move the consent agenda from the work session to the regular meeting on September 9th as amended.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Roll call.
Aye.
Oh, wait, yeah, Dr. Boucher.
If there's something that we need to be prepared to discuss, it would be helpful if we knew that today. So.
That one I just need to abstain.
Okay, it would be helpful if we knew that today, so we can be prepared to discuss it.
Well, the ones for St. Louis University, both individuals have said, Ms.
Okay.
Hubbard already stated to
Okay, so-
move that one
This is, okay.
for previous connections.
This is conflict. Anyone else? Board Member Conover?
I'm very confused as to what's being asked, but you just want to know why I'm making the moves to have.
it's so that if-
So for 62, I want to have an individual discussion about it, as well as 65, and 30 is a previous employer. This is not something that I'm required to disclose, so I'm happy to answer these, but we don't have to go through this every time.
Well, actually, this is a work session, so we can discuss it now. This is the time to actually discuss a particular item.
I know, I
Given the
did-
reason why
okay.
we need to move it forward. If we don't know
Understood.
why, then, then it would be up for consent by the approval from the entire board.
I think we have a motion on the floor. And I second it.
So I have just some
Mr.
comments on the
Marston?
consent agenda. And I don't have any further questions or anything related to the items for action, but I just wanted to reiterate what Ms. Hubbard said, that we have on the consent agenda 41 community partners and 4 gifts received, and those are all organizations that believe in and support our public schools, and we greatly appreciate that. And secondly, I wanted to highlight the package of communication team proposals. So that would be 1113, which is for studio lighting, 1114, which is for RoboHead project management, 1115 for the meltwater service, 1116 for a portable live stream camera, 1153, which is the marketing and advertising budget, and then 1154 and 1157, which are the content management system for the website. So we're just really upping our marketing and communications game with a more sophisticated approach, and I'm looking forward to the great work that Charles Poole and his communications team are going to do.
Thank you, Mr. Marston. Any additional comments?
When
Discussion?
out of that package of communications proposals too, the one I'm especially excited about is the meltwater one, because that'll provide a way for us to really measure the effectiveness of our marketing and communications campaigns.
I believe there is a motion on the floor. Is it? Roll call.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Hikes?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Marston?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Dr. Collins Adams?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Are there any additional items for discussion? We move to section 13, items for information. 13.1, ratification for project construct professional development for early childhood education. Construct. This is just for information. Item 13.2, ratification for contract Character Strong. Item 13.3, the August credit card statements.
About the credit card statements, I want to say that I really appreciate the whole story of how y'all found an unapproved expense and worked to get it resolved. It was like a whole little novel in the credit card reports, and
Very
kudos
detailed.
to everyone for finding out what went wrong and making it right.
Thank you. This is very detailed, and we do appreciate having to click on each one of the items to see all the details, but it is so well worth it. Thank you. According to our agenda, there are no additional items for action.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn and move back into closed session.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yeah.
Mr. Hikes?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Marston?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Dr. Collins Adams?
Yes.
We are adjourned to closed session at 8:34.
Thank you.
No.